So delighted to have Matt Goodwin join me today. And Matt and I have known each other quite a long time. I'm probably not going to tell you how long because I think that would
Let's not say how long.
that would just give us too much away, wouldn't it? So, Matt, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I think you probably do a better job than I will.
Okay, first of all, I've said this off camera, but I'm going to say again how exciting it is to be podcasting with a bona fide LinkedIn legal influencer,
Ah,
award-winning, whatever ranking number you are. So I am Matt Goodwin. I am a very old, experienced ex-lawyer, now legal sector recruiter, um, who very excitingly about 9 months ago co-founded with my long-time colleague Alice Hume, Goodwin Hume. So we now are the sort of owners or directors of our own legal recruitment business. And I've known you for donkeys.
I know.
There's a bit of sort of mystery or mystique around, what does a legal recruiter do, or do you need one, or so we thought this might be useful.
Absolutely, and I think it is a I think it's probably like being a lawyer. It's a bit of an art and a science job, isn't it? But so let's go back a step. You started life as a lawyer, saw the light, left, and
Yeah,
chose recruitment.
yeah.
What? Tell me about that.
I just wasn't a very good lawyer.
Oh,
I I I didn't have the, age 14, I want to be a fireman, I want to be an astronaut. I never had the I want to be a lawyer. I was bright at school, wanted to go to uni, didn't really know what I didn't as a kid really have that one. My passion, and I've known it since I was 10 years of age, is I was quite academic. So I used to knuckle down and work hard at school. So got good grades, wanted to go to uni. And I think I chose a law degree because it felt like it would almost just, that would still open lots of doors, respected degree. Um, I think my mum was super excited to be able to say at coffee mornings that my son's, all this sort of stuff. So
pleasing you about me is really important. So well done.
keeping your mum happy is really, you've met my mum, obviously. Um, did a law degree. Uh, it was back in the day where the whole academic sort of phases were way easier than they are nowadays. The numbers weren't anywhere near as scary. So I was really fortunate that I had a few sort of training contract sort of interviews and ended up getting a few offers. One of them offered to sort of help pay me through law school. So everything kind of felt like it was a very smooth kind of process. None of it was because I had my eye on the prize. I wanted to be a lawyer. You just kind of flow with the river, the same as everyone else. Everyone else is applying for law school or training contracts, so maybe I should. And almost before I knew it, I was a lawyer. Um, didn't enjoy it. I wasn't very good. Qualified into the wrong area now with hindsight, which is why I've spent my career, yeah, as a recruiter being evangelical about trying to get that NQ decision right because I didn't. Could see I was going to have an absolute meltdown after probably 2 or 3 years. Found it really stressful. I think I was probably quite uh, an over conscientious and over. I couldn't draft something in the amount of time it should have taken me and get it out to the client because it's not perfect. And I'd spend 4 hours doing something that should take 20 minutes because that sense of not wanting to let anyone down, that perfectionist kind of, you know, the the failing of the strong or whatever the phrase is. I just wasn't a very good lawyer. Completely inefficient, super stressed by the whole thing, and but I didn't know what else to do. What do lawyers who don't want to be lawyers anymore go off and do?
It's really interesting because I think you just everything you're like, yeah, no, yeah, 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 yeah. And I did. I think I got to I think I got to the stage with you, and I went, yeah, I hate law in my second year, my degree. So I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
So I had that moment of just absolutely almost like want to do it, don't want to do it, and then I got to the stage where I went, well, if I don't do it, what else am I going to do? So I'm
yeah,
really interested to hear all of that. But I'm thinking, actually, I've had exactly the same journey just earlier, and I came back into it.
yeah.
Um,
Because I thought it was the other way around. I quite enjoyed the academic study of the law. I enjoy the idea and
Yeah,
how it society and all this sort of stuff. It was the practice of it where I couldn't help myself care too much or be too driven to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect as a lawyer. You've got to be accurate and right and efficient. And I was just too het up on being perfect. And
that's
then you
really,
hold on so tight, it's going to break you
yeah, and I
because
can understand that.
you can't run the one file and it be the most shiny, perfect law file ever. You've got to run the 140, but all 140 have got to be got to be not negligent,
Yeah,
and it
that
wasn't for
level.
me.
Oh no, I know, and I think
Yeah,
I think that makes it really interesting that you've walked the walk, talked the talk, and you've gone on that journey. So actually, so recruitment obviously found your space, obviously found where you're happy. Um,
yeah.
so
I mean, I think if you'd have said to that kid at uni that you would end up in some sort of sales career, probably for the rest of my days, I'd have thought you've had that one extra cider in the bar because it. I'm not. I didn't necessarily think I was massively a people person because I'm quite an introvert, a quiet. I'm absolutely not salesy, as anyone who's ever worked with me will testify. I'm not going to push you into something that's not right for you. I just don't have that sales kind of instinct. Um, but I did enjoy the law, and I felt that having been a lawyer, there was so much value in having been a lawyer. So I sort of fell into legal recruitment, but actually realize now with hindsight how valuable it is to do what I do, having been there and done it. And it gives you that credibility that you understand what being a lawyer is about. You understand the stresses that come with it. Even funnily enough, actually, the decision in the last sort of year or two that Alice and I made to sort of leave our previous business and set up Goodwin Hume, it's reminded me and probably made me a better recruiter again because I've had that fresh reminder of making your own really brave decision in terms of making a move in your career. And it's so easy as a professional on the outside to be a bit blasé about, come on, what are you thinking about? This is such an obvious step forward for you. But it's reminded me that it's still bloody scary.
it is
Even if you think it's
scary.
the right thing to do, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So I
and
love
that
what I do. But
uh, great. And I think you picked up something really interesting there, which I think the bravery point. Because no matter what you say, you talked about being an utter perfectionist, and I sort of remember a litigator saying to me, he said 51% is good enough. You know,
yeah,
there's somewhere in between. Let's be honest. And we've all lost sleep, we've all had sleepless nights, and we're all we are probably personality wise, probably trained up wise, gearing up towards the perfection piece. However
yeah,
close you get to that top bit where you just flip out and probably go and sit and speak in Bali. Um, I think we are trained to that, aren't we? And we are, as lawyers, trained to pick holes in things and pull things apart to the nth degree, and because that's what we're here for. I suppose you're doing that all wrong, and it turns in on itself. So I think I'm really interested in your bravery point of I think there's probably so much self doubt, isn't there, when you're thinking, oh, am I in the right job? Am I in the right career? Am I in the right workspace? I mean, I'm a solicitor, covers I don't know how many different areas, and even within those areas, you've got specialisms, and actually that's vast. And to have somebody who can perhaps talk you through, this is a hard decision you're making to think about moving or not think about moving. Like actually, I don't know. Maybe you have people who stay after they've done the rounds. So how do you start talking to people and getting them to get through that initial fear?
yeah. I mean, it's this is going to sound like a sort of an overused phrase, but it is a real privilege to be that chosen career counselling best friend, mirror for somebody, however you phrase it, where a lot of the candidates I work with will be people I've known for a number of years. Quite often you'll get people that come back to you where you've helped them at some point previously in your career, and you get this privilege where you dip in and out of someone's life, because for all of us, our career is a big part of our life. Um, and it's amazing to be able to maybe be seen, or for others to see you as an expert and genuinely want your insight and advice. And when I said I'm not very salesy, and thank God I don't think you need to be hugely salesy to be good at what we do, because it's seen as a sales environment, and it is, in that ultimately we want to make money, of course we do, but that comes as an afterthought and as a byproduct of just doing the job really well. And what, and Alice would be the same, what we tend to do is we will strip it right back. So if a brand new candidate I've never spoken to before gets in touch and says whatever their sort of direction of travel might be, I hate my boss, I've had a poor pay review, I'm moving 200 miles down the road, I'm coming back from travel, or feel stale in the job. I've been here 5 years, I trained here, I've never worked anywhere else, whatever it might be. You you're I don't tend to give a candidate any answers or any information, or I don't give them my answer to their question. I will help them navigate finding their answers to their questions. So what their motivations are, where they want to be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the track. How do you get there? What's the most important thing for you? Why do you feel like this? How long have you felt like this? Um, and I suppose once you've been able to frame all of that, the layer on top that we're able to provide is right. Now I understand all of that. I can give you some market intel, which is this is these are the sorts of opportunities that are out there, because I might understand the perfect job for you, but the perfect job might not be out there for you. And I'm not a magician. I can't make it be there for you just because you want it,
Mm-hmm.
but I can tell you what's out there. And is there a good fit? Is there something that looks a good enough fit that it's worth exploring? And we try, and the analogy I use is driving the car on the motorway, where if you're doing 90 miles an hour on the motorway,
We'll get into
the bit
trouble.
of tarmac you're not, sorry, 75 miles an hour on the motorway, apart from when I'm late from a client meeting when it's
Yeah.
90 miles an hour on the motorway, you're not holding the steering wheel and steering at that bit of tarmac 5 meters in front of you, in front of the bonnet of the car. Because if there is something on that bit of tarmac 5 meters in front of you and 90 miles an hour, it's way too late. You're going to hit it. You know, you drive a car at 90 miles an hour staring at the motorway, what, a mile in front?
Yeah.
Because that's an element of whatever steering I do now is going to have that kind of effect. So you've got to try and help people look at their careers as decisions you're making now are for the medium term and for your long term, and trying to get people to sort of de-risk it.
Mm-hmm.
There are amazingly perfect decisions and amazingly dreadful decisions. Most decisions are nuanced. You'll gain in certain areas, you might lose in others. There's an unbelievable work-life balance there, but you might lose a bit on salary, or that's a great opportunity, but it's 45 minutes down the road at the minute you walk to work. We're sort of facilitating people really understanding for themselves what the most important nuances are. And some people will be really unhappy where they are, and it's I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. I just cannot work here anymore. But for a lot of people, it's career progression and navigating something that might feel quite incremental for them. They're not it's not revolutionary, but they know.
So slight technical hitch there. We lost each other temporarily. So
Back.
you're back. We're good. We're all fine. We're all fine. So Matt was talking about driving very sensibly on the motorway, and driving and looking at the road ahead. And I was about to launch into my question, which was, I think you've got a really interesting space where you get to see both sides of the coin. So it can possibly sound like a bit like conflict in my lawyer head, oh, you're conflicted because you've got both sides. But actually, it's not, is it? It's not conflict. It's you knowing both sides of the industry, who's who.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So yeah, so Alice and I have been doing it for a long, long time, and what you gain with sort of length of service is you gain that connectivity, you gain that sense of how many people we know, how many people know us, and you can sit in amongst all of that, and you've got the existing relations with so many people, which is such a privilege. As I said, it's amazing to feel that you can put people together and you can be quite creative and that sort of thing. The point you make about the idea of we sit almost between the candidate lawyer and the hiring client law firm, and almost that it's you've got two sides. When recruitment's done well, everyone wins in that situation. It's not a versus or win and lose, and you hold people's coats while they all sort of battle it out. Yes, there can be a bit of battling when it comes to an offer and some negotiation on an offer or whatever, but when recruitment's done really well, we sit in the middle of a situation where candidate who, for whatever their reasons may be, wants to move and is super excited about this vacancy, which for them is a fantastic opportunity to head their career in the direction they want to go in. And they're super excited to get offered it, want to accept it, etc. Hiring firm that has the issue and the need is super keen to hire Joe Bloggs or Samantha Smith because they think they're wonderful, they're going to massively add to the team. And the best bit of the job is those good news calls where there is no downside. There is no one's upset, no one's lost. It's just a win and a win and a win. I make a fee. Client law firm thinks I'm incredible and is super excited. Candidate is thinking this is the next 5, 10 years in their career and sends me a nice bottle of wine occasionally if I'm lucky. Everybody wins. And they're they're the cherries on the cake. Day to day recruitment isn't wall to wall that. There's a lot of the grunt and a lot of the other stuff that goes in, but you're fighting towards and aiming towards those moments where you're able to be involved in something where so I used to be a litigator as when I was a lawyer, and there was almost that sense of someone's going to win and someone's going to lose.
Yeah.
And it's very nice to work in a recruitment where when it works and it works well, and you have a client who genuinely wants to partner with you and values what you do and doesn't see you as the enemy, and you have candidates who have invested their career and their search process in you, when it goes well, it's the best feeling. It's lovely. Yeah.
Well,
And making a
I
really
can, yeah, I can attest that you are what I call my unicorn hunter, because you have helped me
I
out.
am going to get that as a tattoo on my arm or something.
So anybody listening to this, Matt is brilliant, and I can absolutely attest to the fact that I sort of Matt and I had a chat, and I went, "I'm kind of really quite useful if we find this," and like the next day, here you are, and I was like, "This is astonishing. This is amazing stuff." So yeah, I
It
can say
doesn't
I'm not
always work like that.
don't shatter the illusion. But I can say that as somebody who's been a hiring manager, and that actually having somebody on side to do all that piece and do that out and about and finding and negotiating piece and finding the right fit is crucial because it's built up over the years that sort of like, oh, knowing the market, knowing the people, and this job, no matter what level you're at, is about people. And when we were saying
Yeah.
sort of before the call started, sort of how much we like people and talking to people, and how sometimes it can get exhausting talking to people because all you do is talk to people day in, day out.
Yeah.
But actually, you get a really good feel for the market, don't you? And I know you're sort of Southwest Bristol based and have been, I think, primarily career wise, and you're going to have seen a huge change in the market, um, not
Yeah.
just only the firms but the people.
Yeah.
And and keeping all that in your head has got to be quite fun.
Yeah. You need a really good memory, and you need a really good memory for faces, because I'm constantly caught out by I'll potter from A to B in Bristol, and I'll have three people walk by and say, Matt, oh hi, I haven't caught up in ages, and I'm desperately trying to remember who they are or put a name to the face. But it is lovely. There are an awful lot of other recruiters in the market, whether I'd like them to be there or not. Um, I think it's probably fair to say an awful lot of them, that the very significant kind of majority of my competition are not necessarily people that have been doing it for 20 odd years. Um, and they will have the websites and the mobile numbers and the bits of AI and the databases, and they will absolutely have the same hours in the day and the same commitment that I do, and hopefully the same aim to be non-salesy, advisory. They haven't got 20 years of knowing people, and they haven't got 20 years of understanding how the market's evolved and exactly who's who. And I will know partners and be able to give someone interviewing with a partner a feel for what that partner's like and what presses that partner's buttons, and what they look for in their team. Because I probably placed that partner as an NQ 20 years ago, and I've known them ever
Yeah,
since.
watch them grow up.
And you can't, yeah. The one thing that probably gives Alice and I some competitive advantage in the market, or insulates us a little against the latest new startup agency that I've never heard of before, that I'll trip over tomorrow, is you can't buy in Smiths some booklet of here's 20 years worth of doing legal recruitment. You can't buy it. You just have to gain it over time.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, isn't it? And it's all that sort of subtlety and knowledge piece, isn't it? When you go, so often, mutual friend of ours, Sarah, says, "Oh, it's the merry-go-round. It starts and it stops periodically, and everybody's moved around." And then,
Yeah,
and everybody goes, "Oh," because somebody asked me the other day, "Well, do you know this person?" Yeah, they used to be there, 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 there. And they went, "Oh," so it's colouring in
yeah.
a lot, because it's that structure, isn't it?
As you said, so I've always worked in the Southwest market, my whole legal recruitment career. So if you take the Southwest region, Bristol, Cheltenham, Exeter, Cardiff, etc., there are only so many lawyers. Yes, there's a whole new breed comes through every year. There are people retiring to the other end, but there is only so many lawyers, and there are only so many law firms, and it is, simplistically, it's one very big game of musical chairs. And whatever the stat would be, there's 10% every year, or whatever it is. There's that sort of steady bit of merry going around. Um, and there are trends, and you become aware of certain firms generally will suit certain kinds of candidates, and not necessarily from a practice area point of view, but from a personality point of view. And where are you on as a candidate on that continuum between work-life balance and ambition to earn £3 million a year? And
Oh yeah.
you get a feel for this sort of stuff.
And it's interesting because we've we've seen him, but again, sorry, Tenby's not in Bristol, but we've seen the market be really, really shift, isn't it? It was like Simmons came in and just blew things out of the water. And
Yeah.
we're like, well, we knew Bristol was a hot property market, a hotspot market for salaries, but actually some of the big players coming in. So, we've got the usual suspects, Burgess Salmon, OC, TLT, and now Simmons coming in, and you're like, yeah, there's this tier, isn't there?
Yeah. So
And
when I think about how much the market's changed from when I started, um, Bristol's a good news story. If I think about the 20 years of doing legal recruitment in Bristol, Bristol's probably a stronger, more attractive option coming out of London. Bristol has done incredibly well. So a lot of people talk about Bristol as the music scene and the food scene nowadays, and all the reasons why Bristol is such a great place to live. Bristol's an unbelievable success story from a legal location point of view. The new firms coming in, so even more recently, Freeth's opening and Burkitt's, and that's just got to be healthy. It
yeah,
keeps established leading firms on their toes in terms of not being complacent and constantly innovating, drives salary. I mean, when I started, what was an NQ salary, even at a leading firm in Bristol 20 years ago? It's probably 30 grand. And now, obviously, yeah, you can get 96 at Simmons.
yeah,
So, an obvious what's changed in the 20 years, salaries have definitely changed.
salaries have changed.
Um, yeah. And there are a lot of city, for want of a better word, firms now in Bristol. So you can be a city lawyer if that's you and that's what fits for you and where you feel you are in your career. You can be a city lawyer without having to be on the 5:30 a.m. tube out
Yeah,
of Southwark in the
yeah.
morning.
I love I
Um,
love the city lawyer colleagues we've got in Bristol because I'm like, great, because you're probably got sort of clients I want.
yeah, yeah,
And actually, you as the lawyers are probably the client that I want in part.
yeah,
So I think Bristol's really interesting from that perspective. And I think, yeah, you've absolutely got that city space and you've got lots of startups and niche and boutiques and, and all that. But it works because everybody knows their space and it's all jigsawed together, isn't it, quite neatly?
yeah. And a little bit of the kind of tectonic plates shifting a little bit, and a little bit of an earthquake and disruption now and again is no bad thing.
Yeah. Uh,
Especially as a recruiter, we do need that sense of there's a little bit of movement in the market. So someone's upped their salary, or a new firm's come in, or whatever it may be. Um, and coming back to the point we were discussing earlier, having the privilege of being sat right in the middle of all of that, and being able to give an outside eye when you advise people, either client who want to know what the trends are, what a candidate's saying to you, what are the most important considerations for a candidate when it comes to choosing what they want, or the lawyers wanting to get a sense of salary trends, or we've heard so and so firm are moving into Bristol. What are they like?
yeah.
It's nice to be able
Yeah.
to add some value.
So you're at the centre of the web, aren't you? You got all that.
Yeah,
You got all that going on, and you're like, yeah, no, you're really well plumbed into to the market, aren't you? Which I think is one of my questions to you was, why use a recruiter? Because I think people go, oh, we've got in-house and we've got this, and we've got
yeah.
we can do it ourselves, or we can get people direct and what have you. So, my last question to you is, why have an independent recruiter in that middle space, which you inevitably are between both clients being the candidate and the firm?
So I think from the candidate point of view, as a lawyer, you can send your CV yourself to firm X. When I'm working with a candidate, the me sending your CV to firm X is actually almost midway in the process. That's almost the end step. My work with a lawyer doesn't start with, can I send your CV to X? It will be getting to know you, all the career counseling, that sounding board stuff for people. We may eventually get to the point where you have a really good understanding of what you're trying to achieve, what your priorities are. I've been able to add the whole layer around market intel and opportunities, and we decide together that you want me to represent you, advocate for you really strongly,
Mm,
help you with your CV, help you with your interview prep, um, make sure you're putting your absolute best foot forward,
mm,
and send your CV to firm X.
yeah.
But it's, I mean, people say, what do you do every day? And I don't really know because I'm unbelievably busy and I'm never quite sure how, what, or why, so how come I've sat here for 7 hours and I've not moved? But the, the sort of off the record conversations and the talking about the market and the talking about vacancies, or I placed someone there a year ago and this is how they found it. You can't even put a name and categorize all of that. It's just sharing info and ideas.
Mm,
And so I I do a little bit of sort of playing the stock markets to a very small extent. And the end goal is I'll press trade on the screen that says I want to buy £500 in John Lewis or whatever. But having an IFA is talking to me about where do I want to be financially in 10 years' time? And what does my portfolio of how I'm going to spread my money look like? And it's not just pressing trade and I'm going to buy, it's the much bigger picture. It might end up being I should put some shares in John Lewis, but there's an awful lot of getting to know and advising and wanting to see the big picture that's gone in before that. And that's where we try and help.
yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I mean, Matt, we can find you on LinkedIn. We can find you on your website.
Yes.
And,
So
the,
I'm so proud of the website, and we've had loads of lovely people say lovely things about it. So www.goodwinhume.com. There are very small bits of info about us and our background and what we do, and there's even some photos which make me cringe. But yeah, if
they're
anyone
very
wants to know a
nice.
bit
They're very
more, go on
nice.
the website.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you for your all your insights into what is a very important part of all our lives. So pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Yeah, speak soon.
Yes.